So what's Faith about? Faith is about adventures in a fictional universe set in the future from our current universe, and it tells the story of two very powerful alien species, the Ithkal and the Corvo. The Ithkal are very communal, they are very social, they share everything, whereas the Corvo are very individualistic. They are run by mega corporations with just profit in mind, and because of their very opposed worldviews, they are always in conflict. However, they can never go into open warfare because they are too afraid of the consequences. So what they do is they struggle to control as many exits of the labyrinth as they can.
Explain what the labyrinth is.
The labyrinth is a web of wormholes, which is the main way of space travel in this universe. It connects the whole universe together, the whole known universe, and the species use it to travel to distant worlds, to travel to their colonies, to explore new potential colonies. And the labyrinth is also the source of the greatest threat for civilization, which are the Ravager. The Ravager are a mutant species who absorb the DNA of all the species they come in contact with, and they use this labyrinth to travel and try and find the civilized worlds to destroy them. And there are, of course, humans and Rag. Why don't you tell us about them, a little bit about them?
Yeah, sure. So basically, humans and Rag are two of the minor species in Faith. So humanity basically self-destructed. Earth is kind of like a post-apocalyptic war at the moment, and they were discovered by the Corvo, who hires them out as mercenaries. Basically, what they do is because they don't want humans to spread in the universe. If they want to be hired by the Corvo and leave Earth to get a proper job in the Corvo worlds, they have to be sterilized.
Yeah.
So humans outside Earth, they only live for one generation. The Rag are different. They were basically kind of in a friendly position with the Ithkal, because both civilizations were a long time ago enslaved by another civilization that is now extinct, because both the Ithkal and the Rag rebelled against them and killed them all.
Yeah.
The Rag are kind of primitive society. They believe technology to be like some sort of magic, so they treat it as such, and they make rituals around the magical artifacts, which are basically just computers and things like that. And that means that they haven't advanced that much, and they must also hire themselves out as mercenaries in order to obtain new technology from the other more advanced species.
Yeah, who would be the Ithkal?
The Ithkal and the Corvo.
Yeah. So this is about the setting, but what about the system? The system in Faith uses cards instead of dice to resolve actions, and they are like a poker deck. You can actually use a poker deck if you want, but we have custom suits. So the suits represent the environments where you can be. For example, they can be space or nature, urban, and operating system. And when you use these cards in the environment where you are, you have a certain advantage. And the cards also represent your stamina. So each character has a hand of cards, and when they have to resolve an action, they will play cards from that hand.
Yeah. So basically, usually in RPGs, having a high roll in a die means that you have good luck. Here, playing a good card means you're doing an effort. So it's a very slight. It's more like a change of perspective on how you play it than an actual change. But basically means because you have a hand of them, and that's your whole stamina. And whenever you play a high card, you're basically getting tired, while playing low cards won't get you tired. How does that work? So basically, when you play a card that is higher than your skill, the skill that you are using, you won't draw a card back. But when you play a card up to the value of the skill you're using, you get to draw a new one. So you keep your hand fresh and full of options.
Yeah.
But it also means that you have been playing low cards, and therefore the chances of you succeeding are smaller than if you have played the higher ones. So you can balance your luck basically.
Yeah, you can manage.
Yeah, you can manage your luck, and it allows for emergent gameplay. So basically, when I play my usual campaign on Sundays, different players have different ways of managing their hands. Some like to play the high cards in very important actions. They don't care if they fail in other ones, while other people like to maintain a regular, they like to win all confrontations they can, but not that high, not critting their enemies or something like that. So it depends on you how to decide. Well, you can decide how to play it. Yeah.
So you've mentioned something interesting. So you can decide to achieve a critical success, right? Or you can at least try very hard to get it. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So you have to win the confrontation by 10 points.
Yeah.
Or at least 10 points.
So when you see the cards that your opponent has played, then you can choose and play your very high cards to...
Yeah. So basically how it plays out is your skill will determine the initial value of your action.
Yeah.
So let's say that you and I, we're fighting, and we're shooting at each other, and you have ballistic 5, and I have got ballistic 3.
Yeah.
So you're slightly better, and that means I have to play my cards first. So how many cards can I play? I can play as many as my attribute.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll be using dexterity in this case, unless that both of us have got dexterity 2. So
that means we get to play 2 cards, right?
Yes. So you can play 2 cards, and the values of the cards, you add them to your initiative skill.
Yeah.
Sorry, to your ballistic skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I have a lower skill, I have got to play first. So if I play, for example, a 1, I'm now on 4, while you're on 5. So I'm still lower, and I will have to play.
Right?
I still have to play my second card. That's actually very important, because you almost always want to play at least 1 point over your opponent. That way you get to see what card he will play next, and you can plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, you play both of your cards, and then he will play both of his cards, and it can get very messy. And it's the easiest way to crit is when someone makes that kind of mistake. So yeah, that's basically how you play every single encounter, regardless of what is it about.
Yeah.
This example was us shooting at each other, but it could be me convincing you to do something stupid.
Yeah. And what about if you, for example, you don't do something against someone else, but you, for example, try to climb, or you run very fast? Or...
Okay. So there is something like checks, like in Dungeons and Dragons, that you have got to do checks.
Yeah.
So the idea in Faith is that if you are unconfronted, you will be automatically successful.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
The idea is, let's move the action forwards. Let's not stop doing silly confrontations that no one cares about. Like, it doesn't matter to anyone if it's successful or not. Of course, attacking someone else is always interesting if the other person fights back.
Yeah.
So that's character versus character confrontation, right? But it can also be interesting if you fail on your own against something in which the odds are not that great.
Yeah, like an accident or...
Yeah. So, for example, I don't know, an avalanche falling on your camp.
Okay.
Or something like that. So basically, when you're doing an action that you want to be successful in the first try, or in a few seconds or something like that, that you could eventually do if you had plenty of time. Imagine you're a hacker, right?
Yeah, like picking a lock or...
Yeah, exactly. So if you had all the time in the world and you are actually skilled on that, you will eventually do it. But let's say that you want to do it in 1 minute before the guard comes into the corridor and sees you.
Then I have to check, right?
Then you will have to do a check,
okay.
And it's up to the GM to determine how many cards that check is against.
Okay, but the system is the same, right?
Yes.
So I just look at my attribute, that's the number of cards I can play, and I look at my skill, that's my base value.
Yeah.
And what about the GM? How does he set the test?
Okay, so basically he would say you have to do a it's called a time-sensitive event.
Okay.
Okay. You will do a confrontation against a time-sensitive event of this many cards. And those cards will come directly from the deck randomly, or she could use cards from her hand as well. Okay, to make it more interesting.
Okay, so the game master also has a hand of cards.
Yes,
right?
yes.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Basically, how I resolve time-sensitive events is, if I want it to be something fairly easy, but that makes you, I don't know, spend some cards, get a little bit tired.
Yeah.
I would make it a time-sensitive event in which you have to play, which plays as many cards as you do.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
If I want it to be an actual challenge, it would play one more.
One more. Yeah.
Because that one more would balance out with your skill value, basically.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the idea. And if I wanted to make it really, really hard, it would play two more over you.
Okay.
And if I wanted to make it like impossible, but maybe
I get lucky.
Yeah, 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have done that. I'm very kind.
Okay.
In
So-
GMing, not in real life.
So what about something that is just plain bad luck? For example, what about a gun jamming? Or what about just a rig used for hacking that just gives you a blue screen and stops working? How do you represent that in this game?
Okay, so it would work the same way, but okay, this is something that I really like, and is confrontations that are actually delayed. Imagine that you have to rescue someone who has fallen off a cliff and he's like on some rocks. So he hasn't actually fallen all the way down, but he's a few meters away from you, right?
Okay.
And you have to, for example, with some materials around you, make a rope to
Okay.
try to reach him.
Yeah.
Okay. As a GM, I won't confront you when you make the rope, saying that you cannot do it. I will let you say, yeah, I make a rope however I can.
Yeah.
And then when you try to go down,
And when you actually use the rope,
when you are
right?
actually using the rope, I will say, let's see now
If you
if
made
you made
it
it right or not.
Okay.
Okay, and then you do, because that's actually how it would go in real life.
Yeah. You don't know if you make it
Yeah.
properly until you
Yeah.
test it. So yeah, that's basically it about the rule set, right?
Mhm.
This system also uses cards for other things, like representing non-player characters and gear cards. So you get those with an illustration and all the values that you need to use and all the special characteristics. So you don't have to go back to the rulebook just to check.
Yeah, they are a very useful tool. For me as a GM, I use them all the time.
Yeah.
I put my NPCs on the table and people see how they look like, and it's easier for everyone if you know what they look like and they're on the table, because even if you're fighting a creature, if he has horns, for example, you could come up with an idea like, I grab him by the horns.
Yeah, so
or-
if you see what you're fighting.
Yeah, exactly. And it's easier than if you have a GM's book, because you will have to go page, you have to change
Just flip
pages,
pages and,
flip
yeah.
through pages, yeah. So it's nice.
So that's all for today. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us through our social media, to our email, find more information in our website and the Kickstarter pages, or just everywhere where we are online.
Yep.
So yeah.
Thank you.